Hello. I decided to record this because I'm bored and instead of sleeping, I want to do this. Ergo, I do this. Here before me, I have Hammurabi's Code of Laws. Not all of them, some. Hammurabi was a king of Babylon in the good old days, around 1700 CE, and on a stele, he wrote down a bunch of laws for people to follow in his empire. The stele itself is now in Paris. Now, I wish to read some of these laws to you because I find them quite entertaining to read, and as I said before, I'm bored. Now, I have these laws printed out on a piece of paper. One of my friends, a goat who is illiterate, does not like that I printed this on a piece of paper. However, I like killing trees and hurting the environment so my children can worry about things. Now, let us begin. 1. If anyone accuses another of murder but cannot prove it, then the accuser shall be put to death. 2. If anyone accuses someone else of sorcery, the accused shall leap into the river, and if he or she drowns, the accuser shall take possession of the accused's house and belongings. However, if the accused reaches the shore unharmed and the river thus proves that the accused is innocent of the charges, then the accuser shall be put to death, while the one who leaped into the river shall take possession of the house and belongings of the accuser. 3. If anyone brings an accusation that involves a capital murder charge and does not prove what he has charged, the accuser shall be put to death. 5. If a judge tries a case, reaches a decision, and presents his judgment in writing, but later an error is found that is the judge's own fault, then the judge must pay 12 times the fine set by him in the case. In addition, he shall be publicly removed from the judge's bench, never again to sit on the bench nor render judgment. 6. If anyone steals from the temple of the court, he will be put to death, and also the one who has received the stolen goods will be put to death. 7. If anyone buys from the son or the slave of another silver or gold, a male or female slave, an ox or a sheep, an ass or anything without witness or a contract, or if he agrees to take charge of the stolen property, he is considered a thief and shall be put to death. 21. If anyone breaks into a house to steal, he will be put to death before that point of entry and be buried there, walled into the house. 22. If anyone is caught while committing a robbery, then he or she shall be put to death. 23. If the robber is not caught, then shall the one who has robbed claim under oath the amount of his loss. Then shall the community on whose ground and territory and in whose domain the robbery occurred compensate him for the goods stolen. 25. If fire breaks out in the house, and someone who has come to help put it out casts his eye upon the property of the owner of the house and then steals the property of the master of the house, he shall be thrown into that self-same fire. 27. If a chieftain or a man be caught in the misfortune of the king, captured in battle, and if his fields and gardens be given to another and he take possession, if he returns, his fields and gardens shall be returned to him, and he shall take it over again. 30. If a chieftain or a man leave his house, garden, and field, and hire it out, and someone else take possession of his house, garden, and field, and use it for 3 years, if the first owner return and claims his house, garden, and field, it shall not be given to him, but he who has taken possession of it and used it shall continue to use it. 31. If you hire it out for 1 year and in return, the house, garden, and field shall be given back to him, and he shall take it over again. 48. If anyone owes a debt for a loan, and a storm wipes out the grain, or the harvest fails, or the grain does not grow for lack of water, in that year he needs not give his creditor any grain in payment. He washes his debt tablet in water and pays no rent for this year. 53. If anyone be too lazy to keep his dam in proper condition, and if the dam then breaks and all the fields get flooded, then whoever let the dam break shall be sold for money, and the money shall replace the crops which he has caused to be ruined. 108. If a woman wine seller or tavern keeper does not accept grain according to gross weight in payment of drink, but takes money so that the price of the drink is less than that of the grain, he shall be convicted and thrown into the water. 109. If outlaws meet in the tavern and are not captured and delivered to the court or palace, the female tavern keeper shall be put to death. 110. If a holy woman opens a tavern door or enters a tavern for a drink, she shall be burned to death. 117. If anyone fails to repay a debt and sells himself, his wife, his son, and daughter for money or give them away to forced labor, they shall work for 3 years in the house of the man who bought them, or the proprietor, and in the 4th year they shall be set free. 119. If anyone fails to repay a debt and thus settles that debt by selling a maidservant who has borne him children for money, the money which the merchant has paid shall be repaid to him by the owner of the slave, and she shall be freed. 127. If anyone point the finger at, slanders, or accuses of adultery a holy woman or someone else's wife, but cannot prove it, this man shall be taken before the judges, and his brow shall be marked. 128. If a man takes a woman to wife, but has no intercourse with her, or does not draw up a marriage contract, this woman is no wife to him. 129. If a woman's wife be surprised with another man, both shall be tied together and thrown into the water. But if the husband wishes to pardon his wife, then the king may also pardon the man, but otherwise the king has no power to free them. 130. If a man violates the wife of another man, who is still a virgin living in her father's house and gets caught in the act, this man shall be put to death, but the wife is blameless. 131. If a man brings a charge against one's wife, but she is not actually caught with the other man, she must take an oath and then may return to her house. 132. If the finger is pointed at the man's wife about another man, but she is not caught sleeping with the other man, she shall jump into the river for her husband's sake. 133. If a man is taken prisoner in war and there is enough sustenance in the house, but his wife does leave and go to another house, because this wife does not keep her vows, she shall be judicially condemned and thrown into the water. 134. If anyone is captured in war and there is not sustenance in his house, if then his wife goes to another house, this woman shall be held blameless. 135. If a man is taken prisoner in war and there be no sustenance in his house, and his wife goes to another house and bears children, and if later her husband returns home, then this wife shall return to her husband, but the children must stay with their father. 137. If a man wishes to separate from a woman who has borne him children, or from his wife who has borne him children, then he shall give that wife her dowry and a part of the field garden property, so that she can rear the children. When she has brought up the children, a portion of all that is given to the children, equal as that of one son, shall be given to her. She may then marry the man of her heart. 138. If a man wishes to separate from his wife who has borne him no children, he shall give her the amount of purchase money and the dowry which she brought from her father's house, and let her go. 141. If a man's wife who lives in his house wishes to engage in business, plunging them into debt, trying to ruin her house, and neglecting her husband, and is judicially convicted, if her husband wants a divorce, she may go on her way, and he gives her nothing as a gift of release. If her husband does not wish to release her and instead chooses to take another wife, the first wife shall remain as a servant in her husband's house. 142. If a woman quarrel with her husband and say, "You are not congenial to me," the reason for her prejudice must be presented. If she is guiltless, and there is no fault on her part, but he leaves and neglects her, then no guilt attaches to this woman, and she shall take her dowry and go back to her father's house. 143. If she is not innocent, but leaves her husband and ruins her house, neglecting her husband, this woman shall be cast into the water. 144. If a man takes a wife, and this wife gives her 144. If a man takes a wife, and this wife gives her husband a maidservant for the purpose of bearing children, which he is herself unable to provide, and the maidservant then bears him children, but this man wishes to take another wife, this shall not be permitted. He shall not be allowed to take a second wife. 145. If a man takes a wife, and she bears him no children, and he intends to take another wife, if he takes the second wife and brings her into the house, the second wife shall not be allowed equality with his first wife. 146. If a man takes a wife and she gives this man a maidservant as a childbearer, and the maidservant does bear him children, then this maid assumes equality with the wife, because she has borne him children. Her master shall not sell her for money, but he may keep her as a slave, breaking her among the maidservants. 154. If a man is guilty of incest with his daughter, he shall leave the city. 157. If anyone be guilty of incest with his mother after his father dies, both shall be burned. 192. If an adopted son says to his adoptive father or mother, "You are not my father or my mother," his tongue shall be cut out. If a son... 195. If a son strikes his father, his hand shall be cut off. 196. If a man puts out the eye of a nobleman, his eye shall be put out. From this comes the phrase, an eye for an eye. If a slave says to his 282. If a slave says to his master, "You are not my master," if they convict him, his master shall cut off his ear. And on this delightful note, I must finish this recording. I'm tired. Good night.